Good day. If you look at all the major high-performing companies, they almost always reference being able to move fast. Okay, Meta's number one core value is to move fast. Google's fast is better than slow. Microsoft also mentioned being agile, and Blue Origin has bias for action, right? And if you'll get a job there, you can expect like 90% of those decisions to have to be made quickly. Your bias for action will be super important, and therefore, a main topic of discussion in your upcoming job interviews. So that's why in this video, I'm going to focus on how do you sell yourself as someone who can demonstrate bias for action in job interviews, right? So let's start with the overall behavior. In my opinion, the moment you make your interviewer trust you, that's when you're in a significantly better spot. Also convince them that, for instance, you are someone who can do well in moving quickly, right? And the number one moment in an interview where you can establish trust with your interviewer would be in the small talk, while building a rapport with your interviewer. And if you do that well, chances are, not you'll earn their full trust, but at least you will be understanding each other quite well throughout the conversation, and you'll understand for yourself how well they trust you in the process, right? Something extreme, if you want to try out, and if you can afford this, if you have a story bank prepared in advance, you could also share that with your interviewer or interviewers before, during, or after your job interviews if you want to, to sell yourself on it even better, right? The second thing you could do to exhibit, to demonstrate bias for action in job interviews would be not to shoot yourself in the foot with some questionable behaviors there, right? It goes without saying, don't break their confidence in any shape or form, like speaking negatively about your past employers, or bluffing with some numbers and stuff like that. Also, lack of interview prep, especially during the final rounds, is considered as a confidence breaker, right? So it will not play to your advantage. Okay. Also, answering questions quickly doesn't mean you exhibit a bias for action, right? If you speak quickly, there's no problem with that. But I'm saying you shouldn't hurry to answer questions as quickly as possible in a bid to demonstrate bias for action in job interviews. It doesn't really work, right? I'm going to talk about this a bit later as well. Now, probably the most interesting part of you selling yourself on your bias for action, your ability to work under stress and to move quickly, is by answering the questions that they'll ask you during the interview that relate to this topic, right? So if you manage to showcase yourself as someone who can do well on your bias for action, if you have experiences, if you have past experiences when you exhibited bias for action, that's the best formula to convince them that you are someone who's going to do well there on this topic, right? So I just shared with you a number of questions, a number of sample questions, including for manager level roles, by the way, because this bias for action means different things to different roles. So hopefully this will help you to understand the types of questions you're going to get asked, because a very common shortcoming in job interviews that candidates have no idea they are being screened on their ability to move quickly, right? Maybe another honorable mention here of types of questions nobody expects to be interested in this topic would be a time when you failed to move quickly, right? And the reason why someone would ask you these types of questions in a job interview, a failure question, would be because they wanted to see how you grew from that experience, what you learned from your inability to move quickly, which you can eventually use successfully in your career, right? Also, maybe interesting for you would be what it takes to bring your answers from good to great when it comes to exhibited speed and bias for action in general. Frameworks, there are frameworks. You can, you can search online. What does it mean to have a framework to exhibit your speed, your decision making, your accuracy, your risk taking in speed in stressful environments? You could also go beyond the STAR format. I also have a video on this, like my best candidates. I'm talking about director level roles here primarily and senior level roles, but they go way beyond the STAR format to sell themselves in this job. And just simply because the STAR format is slightly outdated nowadays. Drama in your answers. It's something also that sells quite well. For instance, if you move quickly, there might have been some tension between the quality of the service you have provided and speed. So how would you showcase, how would you sell yourself as someone who still has high standards, even though you moved quickly, right? So a little bit of drama and stuff like that. Or you could simply use an exceptional story, something that's generally exceptional, such as you completed something in half the timeline that it was originally designed, an optimization, an automation and stuff like that, right? And let me just close by saying that in behavioral interviews, I could even give you the questions in advance, and still, you still not be guaranteed to pass them. So that's why it's essential that you spend a little bit of time to build your story bank, make a few revisions, eventually a bit of role play, to ensure that you can answer these questions well. So I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.